Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and today we're going to be looking at two things, one video. So first up, my thoughts on the newest sort of ranked changes that they're going to do starting in split number 2, primarily putting in the new Emerald rank between Platinum and Diamond, and then we're going to go into the patch notes for 13.12 patch preview. So this is what's probably going to happen in the next patch, just to kind of give you my thoughts on that. Okay, and be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Come by, check out the stream. Usually starts around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, almost every night. All right, let's go ahead and get in here. So I think this is an awesome idea, and I know a lot of high-level players are kind of hating on this because they think that, oh, that's just giving the noobs, like, you know, a little bit more chance to, like, spin their hamster wheels. It's still low elo, blah, blah, blah. What you have to understand is that even people in Diamonds and Diamond Plus, that's like 2% of the population, right? Or 2.5% of the population. So, yes, that is an important 2% because that's most of the streamers and obviously pro players. A lot of the, you know, content creators with very large followings are going to be in that 2%. There are some people that are lower, obviously, but so their voice does matter. But for actually playing the game, the experience of the vast majority of the population is lower than that. And a huge problem in League of Legends is that there's not a lot of differentiation in skill level around the middle. They've added a lot up top. And that's why, you know, I saw like Aoki's tweet. He's like, why don't they add something between Masters and Grandmasters? Well, 4 of the 9 brackets are devoted to the top 10 or 2% of the players. You have Diamond, Master, Grandmaster, Challenger. That's 4 different sort of parses or checkpoints for the top 2% of the players. What does everybody else get? Iron, Bronze, Silver, Gold, Platinum. Right? So, you know, almost 50% of the differentiation is for the top 2% of players. And really, when you get down to it, I think it's something like 50% of players are in like that silver and gold. It might even be higher. It might be something like 60 or 70% of players are in 2 brackets for the most part. And really, I would say it's probably closer to like almost certainly 80% are bronze, silver, and gold. It's a lot of people. And I said back in the day when they created Iron that was a mistake. Because it's like you're adding differentiation at the bottom. And it's a feels bad differentiation, right? It's like, oh, crap, I'm in Iron, right? Versus before you were just, you know, bronze 5, negative 100, you know, LP or something. So I thought that was a bad idea to add Iron. And I always said there should either be a split between silver and gold or platinum and diamond. And it looks like they've gone platinum and diamond. Now, I've seen the argument as well. It's like, oh, well, why don't they add a split between diamond and masters? Because, you know, there's a huge gap between D4 and D1. Again, first of all, that's catering to the top 2% of players. And really, I think that Emerald is most likely going to be populated by people who are, you know, Platinum 1, D4, D3. I think that's probably going to be like the Emerald range. So it's already taken care of that, right? So the new Diamond, I suspect, is most likely going to be basically like your D2, D1 players. So it's already expanding. That's exactly what they're asking for. They're asking for between Diamond and Masters. To me, it seems like that's probably how it's going to distribute, is that's basically going to be it. Is it's going to be, you know, your Diamond 2, your Diamond 1, maybe your Diamond 3, all kind of split into what is now New Diamond. Now, there's a theory also that it could just be splitting up Platinum, that it could just be, you know, Platinum 2.0, where, you know, your Platinum 1, 2, and 3 people are all going to be like Emerald. But I don't think that's going to be it. I think it's going to pull people from the higher bracket, from like the D4, maybe D3, down into the Platinum 1, Platinum 2 kind of space. I think that's good. It gives people more things to shoot for, because a lot of people right now think you hit Diamond 4, you basically beat the game. Unless you're going to hardcore no-life it and just move on up. Like, if you get to Diamond 4, past that is, like, extreme dedication for a lot of people. And most people just don't have time for that. So now it's going to give people a little bit more of a chance, kind of your everyday people, a little bit more of a chance. I mean, every day. It's still like the top 2% of players. But it gives people more differentiation. That's a good thing. Because like I was trying to say earlier, and I think I got sidetracked, a big problem with League in general is all of it is focused around ranked play, which is cool, but the vast majority of people just kind of spin their wheels. And they're just like, all right, great, I'm gold again for the 6th season in a row. I'm going to play whatever the newest game is, right? So they just kind of get to a certain spot where they're just kind of spinning their wheels and they just get disengaged because they just don't see that progression. And they've tried to add extra ways to progress. They added the challenges, just kind of a for fun way to progress. They added the, Eternals or something. For like one-trick champs. So they try to add all these fun extra ways you can progress without it literally being ranked progression, because ranked progression is competitive. So people get better every season. So if you've been in, Silver 1 for the last 5 seasons, you're probably better than you were 5 seasons ago, but you're still the same rank because everyone else in general has gotten better as well. Because League, despite people saying that it dies and blah, 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 it retains a lot of players from season to season. So you've got a lot of old guard that stick with this game, or they kind of come and go. But anyways, more differentiation is good. It says they are also getting rid of the promos. Great. I think promos are a point of frustration. They're very rarely fun. The only time that promos are interesting in my mind is the first time that you get to a new rank. So the first time you go from silver to gold, it's cool. But past that, it's just annoying that you have to go back through your promos. So I think it's great that they get rid of that. It does take a little bit of drama out. I guess you can still be... they're still going to have the demotion and promotion through there. I wish it would just be fully fluid, like basically a 4-digit MMR system. Like you just go up and down, and hopefully they do that, because right now it's kind of frustrating. It's like, okay, am I going to get demoted? I'm at 0 LP, right now. Or it's also a point of frustration where you just get to like 99 LP and then you don't get the promos or whatever. So I wish it would just be fluid, just 0 to 100 points, and you just go up and down. There's no getting demoted for 25 points, or maybe not getting demoted and staying at 0. None of those games, just straight up and down the scale. I think a lot of people would like that. It would add a lot of extra visibility. People are saying that, like, some high-level people, of course, are just shaking their little, canes and saying, get off my lawn, kids. But they're saying that, it's not going to have this gatekeeping or whatever to it. Like, I don't know. Like, it just feels like it's going to be, like, you're going to be matched where you normally are. The only reason that like, gatekeep, having to win 2 out of 3 games, is just, like, over a very short period of time, you need to win 2 out of 3 in order to get that promotion, right? And it feels like if it's just more fluid, it's going to be much more representative of your longer term performance. Especially, again, now I don't know if they're going to do this, but I think it would be a lot tougher if you just straight up fell between ranks and there was no cushion whatsoever when you're somewhere. I don't know if they're saying they're going to get rid of that, but if you you go from gold 1 to platinum because there's no promos, but then you lose the next game, you fall right back down to gold 1. Because that's a thing that is annoying as well, I feel like, is where people will just be at 0 LP, they just get promoted, and then they just don't give a crap because they know if they lose, they're not going to get demoted unless they lose like 10 games. So that artificially inflates because people can actually lose a lot of games and not go down. So I don't know if they're getting rid of that, but if they get rid of promos and they also get rid of it the other way down, and it's just a constant fluid motion between ranks, then I think ultimately that would be even more representative of longer term skill, right? Rather than just saying, okay, can you win 2 out of 3 games? That's one chance that you get here, right? And then if you do, then all of a sudden you're set and you could just lose 10 in a row and not get demoted. So anyways, I like it. I think it's going to add a lot more visibility. It's going to add a lot more differentiation. I mean, Platinum is still like the top 15% of players, though. So it's not still not catering to the majority of players. I think they need to add an additional one between Silver and Gold. I think that's the biggest need right there. Because, again, that's where most people are, and that'll give them something to shoot for a little bit more. But this is a start. This is closer. This is a lot closer than what needs to happen, in my opinion, to keep the community engaged, rather than Iron or Grandmaster, right? Both of those are extreme. They're catering to, like, 2% of the player base, and no one wanted Iron, right? But, like, Masters, the thing is you already have differentiation at the top. You get a reset on LP, and you have a 0 to infinite scale on where you stand. That's differentiation, right? If you're 1,000 LP or if you're 0 LP. And at that point, you should be more, like, intrinsically motivated because you're a very elite player to try to get better. Like, you shouldn't care as much about whatever the sticker says, oh, this is Master or Grandmaster or whatever. You have a way to differentiate that. And you have 3 ranks already for that system of Master to Grandmaster. So the people who need that motivation, who need those extra ranks and divisions and all that kind of stuff, are going to be lower ranked people that are going to fixate more on those kind of like representations. I think. I mean, maybe that's a bad assumption, but I think they're going to fixate a lot more on that versus higher level players are going to fixate much more on other things like win rates, your actual skill on champions, getting better at the game. But they could just add divisions as well if they really wanted to. Every 100, it'd look a little goofy. Like, oh, you're in division? I don't know. I guess they can't because divisions kind of go in reverse order. But they've got a number. It's fine. So yeah, overall, I think it's great. I think it's looking good for the game. Now, where am I going to be? I'm probably going to be an Emerald somewhere. I mean, if I'm low Diamond right now, if I go from like high Plat to low Diamond is usually where I end up most seasons, I'll probably be an Emerald. So it'll be fun for me to try to get to Diamond because because I feel like getting to Masters is just not going to happen most of the time for me. I'm just too old for that. I don't put enough time into it. But this might give me some new challenges to look at. Okay. So let's see what they're doing in 13-12, just to kind of pivot and get some of this in here. Frost Shot, and I talked about this last night on stream, but I know not a lot of people watched it, so obviously I'm going to reiterate it here. So with Ashe, it looks like they're trying to help out Ashe ADC a little bit with that Frost Shot damage. It does help out some early on, but you don't get a lot of like AD as support Ashe. A lot of times you're getting Helios, which they're keeping that interaction with Font of Life. I think they need to change that on Font. I think it's just too hard to balance items around that. But it does open up interesting build paths for some weird stuff like Helios on Ashe, which is kind of cool. So Helios, and then usually they're doing Mandate. In theory, you could also do something like Ardent Sensor if you wanted to on her. Volley base damage is up a little bit. Okay, that's nice. Enchanted Crystal Arrow has a bigger AP ratio, so that's cool because those items do have AP on them. So I think that's fine. I think she's in an okay place right now. I don't think she's great. I think a lot of videos are overhyped with, the Helios stuff. But I think she's an interesting support to have around in the meta since she's kind of an enchanter, poke enchanter that also has like a pretty good engage. I think she's an interesting archetype. So I'm glad they're keeping her around in that role. Okay, Gangplank, timer on the barrels is down. That's good. Gangplank's, I think he's a cool champion. I think he's really interesting, very skill-oriented champion. So I know he can be really rough in pro sometimes, but I think having him viable is good. I don't know about this Kaisa buff. They're saying it's to meet certain breakpoints with some specific items. I'm not sure how much that is going to matter. I mean, they have lowered the AD on some of these big items pretty substantially, so I know that she likes to get Gale Force, I think, a lot historically. So it's losing 5 AD, and she's going to get 0.6 per level, so when she completes her item at, level 7 or something maybe, then she'd have an extra 4.2. So that's getting pretty close to being able to get that break point. So I'm just not sure exactly how much that's going to matter. I always feel like these 80 per level or armor per level changes really don't matter that much, but I just don't know the math if that's going to matter. I don't think she needs that much of a buff. I think she's okay right now. Nasus is getting more lifesteal later, less early, and then cooldown is going down. I think that's good. I wish they would make support Nasus more of a thing. I know people ask about that from time to time. Wither is a pretty obnoxious spell, to be honest, but he's got the armor shred, he's got Wither, he's got percentage damage. You know, if he could get some tanky AP type of items, that would be like a potentially interesting type of champion if his E didn't cost that much mana. If they lower the mana on E and actually give him like some reasonable wave clear and like range trading. And the problem is they have to put so much budget into his Q. But if people are, you know, maxing, like if support could like 3 points of E in lane for light trades and wave clear and then max W for team fights later, it could be interesting. The problem is I just think that his items are kind of bad and he's just balanced so much around that Q. That it's difficult to give him a lot more like baseline power, but I think lowering the cost on the E would be a big step in the right direction. Okay, and then or maybe, you know, give him bonus versus monsters a little bit more if they want him to be in the jungle. Okay, it's just hard for him top lane, especially at higher elo brackets, but Orianna getting 95% AP ratio, R base damage is up. That's cool. I mean, I think Orianna is a very interesting champion. Again, I'm biased, but I wish they would make her more viable as support just by lowering the mana cost a lot, especially on her, I think it's the W. Maybe people think that'd be too powerful to trade, or lower the cooldown on her shield, her E, because that is kind of an interesting ability as well. But or maybe if the ball is attached to an ally, then it lowers the mana cost on the W or something like that, so that you could buff your allies more consistently without completely just tearing through all of your mana as support. But I don't know. I think they need to give her a little bit more juice. She's just very outdated. So good. That's a step in the right direction. Rise. I don't know if that matters. I haven't read Rise. They rework him so often. Sure, I mean, he's in a pretty terrible state, so buffs are good. Sivir, 80 per level is down, and then the 80 ratio is up. Okay. I don't think that matters. I mean, that is going to give her more wave clear, like 5% more AD. I just don't think it's enough. Sivir's just in kind of a tough spot. Like, her ult is pretty good. She's low range, and she's just kind of vulnerable to a lot of things. I mean, she does have her spell shield. She is very good in team fights if people just stand around and let him hit her, or let her hit them. But I don't know. She feels like she could use a little bit of love. So I guess that's fine. Okay, champion nerfs. Gragas, basically the healing is down. Okay, I wish, you know, again, I'm biased. I would like for there to be more diversity on supports. I wish they would find a way to make him better as a support, and I don't know exactly what that would be without just making him too strong elsewhere. I think that lowering the cooldown on the E would be nice. Because that's a huge thing, being able to like free dash through a wall when you're a support to get away from stuff when you're trying to ward. So I think that would be nice. I mean, maybe they could increase the slow on his Q or something like that to help you get away. W does feel kind of wimpy. But like his ultimate is a really cool interaction, right? It has, you can screw it up, so it can go good and it can go bad. I think that's the hallmark of good balancing. It takes some nice skill expression, and the enemy, can outplay it a lot of times. So they have an opportunity. So I like that as an engage tool, and I like that he has that freeform dash that also is a displacement. So it can be used offensively to start fights, but it can also be used defensively to peel, and it counts as a little knock up for like Samira, Yasuo, stuff like that. So I think he has a lot of like cool interactions. But a lot of pros are playing him top, so he might be a little over the top in top. Okay, Kozik's base AD is down. I don't think that matters too much. He doesn't get Sheen items. I think he'll still clear fine. If this hurts his clear, then that's a big deal. But he's at like 50. He's a high, like 54% or something right now. So that's fine. Kog'Maw, this is the standard Kog'Maw nerf that they always do. It's like either 1 or 0.5% off the damage on the W. Cog is a little over the top because the enchanters are so strong right now. But since they're nerfing like Lulu, Yuumi, those are kind of the two biggest offenders with Kog'Maw. Then maybe this will dial him back a little bit. It's just like the itemization. He's just so strong. Once he gets to like 2 items, so like Ginsu, Play the Ruined King, and he takes Ghost. If you don't have a dive comp that can securely just get on him and take him down, he just melts everybody. So that's probably a good change. Just to tap him back a little bit. That's what they always do. It's like 0.5% off of his W, and then he's just not viable for 6 months. And then they buff him, and they give him the 0.5% back, and then all of a sudden, enchanters are good too, and he just takes over. But tapping him's probably a good idea. He's just too risky. He's just too powerful if he goes unchecked late game, in my opinion. Cassante, footwork. I don't understand everything about this champion. I just know that he has too much mobility and he's too tanky and has too much CC. Now, a lot of people are bad with him in solo queue. And he does have a low win rate, I think, but he's just like hyper dominant in pro. So the footwork, I'm assuming, is part of his mobility package. So that's a good thing they're lowering that a little bit. He is an interesting champ. If it's just like you can kill him, then he's cool, I guess. But he's a little too over the top. Okay, Lulu, base armor down 3. Now, that is actually pretty significant because you get hit by a lot of stuff in lane. Minions, primarily. If you auto-attack and those minions start hitting you, 3 less armor is a big deal. And then, obviously, auto-attacks from the AD carry, tower shots. There are a lot of things where armor matters, especially in bot lane where there's, on a champion particularly that needs to attract the attention of the minions, right? If you use your E to hit somebody, like single target spells pull the minions. So that'll get the minions on you. So that's going to hurt her a little bit. And then the passive damage is down a little bit later. That's probably not going to matter as much. Like very early trades, it will matter. Level 1 and level 2, 6 damage does add up. But they are giving the shield 20 more. So this is probably better late game. Or like once you get your shield max, level 9 or so. But you're definitely going to feel it in the early game. Melio, armor down. Okay. Armor growth is down. That doesn't matter as much. This is pretty big deal though. Especially in team fights late game. Because it's base 8, or it's total AD, not base, not bonus, but total AD. So, if a champion, like very conservatively, let's just say they have 100 AD, then this is going to knock 20 damage off of his on hit. And remember, you can trigger this, like if you ult, it literally puts your passive on everybody. That's a lot of damage. And then when people sit in your W too, then that triggers it a lot. So, and then that doesn't include like your shields. If you kick the ball through people, that does even more. So his passive does a lot of damage. So nerfing this, you're probably looking at in a lot of trades, depending on what's going on. You might be looking at 100 less damage, and in team fights, it might be hundreds less damage. So that's a pretty significant nerf. I think he'll still be good. The interaction with W and Aerie is just pretty nasty, and particularly with champs like Lucian. I think he'll still be really good. He needed to be nerfed. He's just... The burst, like, protection is huge with the E, and, like, the double tap E and then the R is massive. And then he has a displacement, which makes it really hard to dive with his kickball. the W, it's like, it's not even the range and the heal that matters as much. It's how many times it procs the passive and Airy and Font of Life and is all this other garbage that he takes. Ardent Sensor, all of that. So, anyways, I'm glad they're nerfing it a little bit. Riot, I don't know. They always freaking send us over to somebody else. Hey, go check out this other person's personal Twitter to see what's going on here. Rel, I haven't seen her this patch. I know her win rate was horrible. It's an interesting mechanic that they want her to like gank with somebody and you both get a lot of movement speed. So that's cool. But I feel like she was probably too squishy. Again, I never played against her this patch. But with the changes, I felt like her CC was too low and she was probably too squishy. I think they are giving her more CC if I'm remembering that correctly. But anyways, yeah, that was kind of rough on this patch. And then Yuumi attack speed buff is down early, so if you max Q, which you want to do on Yuumi, then you're giving out 10% less attack speed, okay? And then the R is healing for 10 less per hit. It hits like 6 times, I think, so that's pretty significant. I think she'll still be good. Like, the Q still hits for, like, an absurd amount. It's like 400 or something stupid when you max it out on a basic ability. It's like a 5-second cooldown. So I think she'll still be good in the situations where she's good. But this hit combined with hits to Ardent Sensor could potentially be a big deal. However, they are really buffing Moonstone, and that might, that might make her really strong again. Because she wasn't really a fantastic Helios user, I don't think. Okay, so good. She probably needed some nerfs. Zeri, I think this is nail in the coffin. I don't know. Maybe someone's going to come up with a different build, but that's her whole thing, is that her Q proc Sheen. And then I think when you had Q with Hurricane, I believe your Hurricane bolts also procced Sheen. So that's just like an insane amount less damage. It's hard to calculate it, but it's a lot of damage. And all they're giving her is 5 base movement speed and like your E. I think that's the zap, right? Does a little bit more damage. Man, I mean, they gotta make her Q interact with crit better or something to like convince her to buy a lot of crit items. I don't know what she's gonna get. It's gonna be really bad. I feel like it's really, really bad. But, I mean, maybe I'm overestimating that. I mean, so she can still get Quick Blades, which her Q does count as an ability and will get bonus damage from Quick Blades. So that's nice. I don't know. It seems like it's going to be really bad. But I guess we'll see. Okay. Lucian, Vigilance. When he's empowered by an ally, his next 2 attacks deal bonus damage. When he's healed or shielded by an ally. Okay, so that's going to hurt some weird interactions like Braum, who tries to interact with him but isn't an official shield. Or Nami if she doesn't take Airy with the E. I think if she has Airy, it's not entirely clear because it said empowered by an healed or shielded by an ally. Rather than empowered. Ooh, one thing that I just thought of. It's healed or shielded by an ally, so you don't have to empower them anymore. So does this work with Font of Life? So if Lucian keeps auto-attacking people with Font, does he keep this up permanently, basically? Because that's how all of those other things are worded that interact with Font. The Ardent Sensor, Staff of Flowing Water, Helios, all of these say, like, when you heal somebody. So Font counts as a heal from you. So, man, that's going to be turbo OP if that's how it works. Because it's just permanently going to be up. Because every time, he auto-attacks, it's going to trigger this and make his next 2 autos have it up. And then he auto-attacks and he triggers it. So as long as you have a slow that puts that up on him, then this would be up permanently. I think, the way that it's worded. But that also works with... I think it's intended to work better with champions like Nautilus, like Leona, who don't have a formal shield or a way to buff Lucian, right? So he's not... I think they don't want him to be as, like dominant with Nami, but to be more viable with your Leona, your Nautilus, that type of stuff. So they kind of want to smooth out his curve between different champions. But yeah, this looks really strong. Now they are nerfing the damage on it, like quite a lot, right? From 14 down to 10, and then it has less AD scaling. So they're nerfing it, but that's still like if it's up all the time with font, that's a big deal. So I'm not sure. It's all going to depend on how that interaction works. But if it's up with font, that's seems super strong. Okay. Rumble, maximum heat is up to 150, which is kind of weird. Overheat, 20 to 80% attack speed goes to 50% to 130% attack speed for 4 seconds. Okay, so they really want you to dish out damage and auto attack a lot. And you do bonus magic damage, I think, too. Let me see. I think you... Let's see. I know they've reworked him. I haven't played Rumble consistently since, like, Season 2. That was, like, my one-trick Season 2. But he used to do, yeah, bonus on-hit damage. Oh, it's 6% of the target's max health, too. So he gets a lot of attack speed. And then he also does 25% AP, nominal amount of base damage. Just say, like, what, 20 or something? It's not giving me the thing. But, like, 20 base, 25% AP. So if you have, like, 200 AP, that's 50. So that's 75. And then 6% of the target's max health, which is if they have 2,000 health, that's 120. So that's like 300 damage per auto, in addition to just your normal auto attack damage is probably 100. Jesus, and he's going to have 150% attack speed? Ish? I guess that's like 130, fully maxed out. Man, they really want him to get in there and start autoing, huh? So like Nashor's Tooth, it's probably going to be crazy. So yeah, they really want him to have this bruiser, like, get in there, light him up with the flames, throw on your shield, and then just start autoing. Okay. Now you have to get to 150 heat, rather than 100 to do it. But your stuff gives you more heat too. So like the E gives you 20, so if you like double E tap, that's an extra 20 heat than it used to be, and then... Your Q is still the same amount of heat. And then your shield... Okay, so the shield heat is the same, is that right? Shield. Okay, so the only thing that's getting extra heat is E. Okay, so basically, for a major encounter, you need... And it only stacks twice, right? The harpoon to... charges stacking up to 2. Wait, cooldown, first enemy hit 4 seconds, blah blah blah, effects stack additively. Okay, so he does charge up to 2. It's a 6-second recharge. Okay, so that's pretty fast though, pretty fast recharge. And then you have longer where you're in the danger zone though, where you get, you know, a lot of extra damage. How much is the danger zone heat? Jeez. 510. Okay, so you can stay in the danger zone longer. This is really, like, throwing off a lot of stuff here. Danger zone. Okay, so you have 100 points. So it's a lot easier to stay in the danger zone now if you want to. But if you do want to overheat and go for the kill, it's going to be harder to get to that. But most of the time, me playing Rumble, you didn't want to do that. Like, you kind of wanted to just stay in the danger zone for as long as possible, unless you were, like, killing them. So, I don't know that matters. Like, the extra attack speed and stuff is cool. I don't know how much you want to play around that. Monster cap's adjusted. I don't know what that means. If that means he can jungle better, that's probably good. Health is down, but he gets more per level. So what, level 6 or so, he's about back to where he was, and then it's more from there. Okay. Q damage is 135 to 195, so that's a lot less up front, but it's also 6 to 10% of the target's maximum health. So if it's 10%, they have 2,000 health, then that's 200, so that's 395. So I think the break-even point's going to be somewhere between 1,500 health and 2,000, so he's going to be a lot better against tanks. And remember, that gets amplified. I think it goes up by like 50% or double or something whenever he's in the danger zone. Okay, so the max percentage health thing, better against tanks, penetration's better. The AP ratio is the same, so the AP scaling is basically the same, so you don't necessarily want to prioritize other stats. The W shield is 4% of your max health, so HP is a lot better on him. The AP ratio is worse. Okay, so that makes you want to get more health. So is that really gonna? I don't know. It's so many changes, and the R cooldown is up. I don't like that. I like him being able to use his ult. It's a big part of his identity. That is interesting, though. I'm trying to think of, like, man, I wish he could be played as support. He just doesn't have enough CC, I don't think. I mean, because, like, you could spam those harpoons now without going into the danger zone as much, or without, like, overheating as often. I mean, they do have, like, pretty good CC on them. Let's see, harpoon, it's just the heat on the harpoon, right? But, like, if you max harpoon, you get 320 damage. Oh, wait, when did they add that? I didn't realize that. It shreds MR by 40%. Wow. Okay, that's actually pretty legit. And then the enhanced, it could go up to 60% reduction. And 480 damage. Wow, so if you get cooldown reduction on this bad boy, you get it down to like 4 seconds or something. You can throw one of these. You can throw some heat in there too. Probably still not support. Probably. I don't know. You'd have good wave clear. With the flame spitter and harpoons. He's kind of can be tanky. But okay, interesting changes. Rumble's an interesting, unique champ, so I like the changes. If he's a little over the top, sure, nerf him a little bit, but I like the boldness. And we need more AP champs, I think, that are viable in especially like mid and tops. It feels like it's either all AD champs or like tanks. There are some, obviously, like Ahri's good, Azir's pretty good, like there are some. But I think mages in general have gotten the shaft pretty big time. Most of that has to do with their itemization, but anyways, I like it. Rumble's my homie from back in the day. I think, like I said, I think he's unique. Had some interesting choices to the game in terms of team comps, all that stuff. Okay, Immortal Shield Bow, extra lifesteal. This is good. This item, just hardly anyone picks this anymore, so just not giving it. You're adding a little bit more to what it already is supposed to do. I like that. And I like that type of balancing rather than just giving something all of the stats, right? So there's no real opportunity cost. I like to just double down on what situations do you need this item and just kind of going a little bit more extreme in that direction. Not like super extreme, but just saying, okay, I want survivability. I'm willing to give up damage here in order to get more survivability. So I think that's making that choice a little more tempting. Mid laners are getting a little bit more gold. So if your average gold, silver, platinum player is gonna maybe get 70 minions per 10, something like that, then this will give them 70 more gold at 10 minutes. Sure. Mid lane is still strong, but jungle and top are definitely, and ADC are definitely like in the mix now. So okay, especially since they kind of limited roaming a bit a couple of patches ago. Maybe taking that off could be okay. Echo, okay, so Moonstone. Now, this is a case where I know I said I like doubling down on the identity of something, but I feel like this is just not that interesting of an item. It's glorified plus healing and shielding, like extreme plus healing and shielding on an item. So, yes, that does make it a little bit more unique than something like Helia, because Helia wants you to do damage to heal. This one's just like, okay, we're just going to give you a million healing and no damage. I wish it was like activatable, or you had to meet certain conditions. Like before, they made it to where you had to stay in combat longer. So they didn't want you to have a lot of burst sustain, and they wanted to kind of emphasize, okay, enchanters need to stay in combat for 5 seconds or more, and that should be how they work to reach their maximum potential, to kind of outscale engage champs. They need to survive the engage and make it, 5 seconds in a fight, which is how a lot of enchanters work. They want longer fights typically, and that's really where they shine, where they get off multiple heals and shields. But it was a little clunky how it worked before, so now they're just like, all right, screw it, we're just going to give them just a crazy amount of healing. I wish that they would either take away the same target bonus. I wish they would take that away and give, like, if you're in a team fight, you get more bonuses. Something like that. So I wish there would be something where you need to be next to 2 allies, and then you unlock something. So you get more healing and shielding, or even better, something like you get movement speed. When you're within 1,000 units of 2 allies, you get 10% movement speed or something like that, just to help them reposition. So I wish, because that's what they want this to be, is kind of like your team fight, lots of champions around, and like the idea of the splash, right? So like doing a little bit of your bonus healing to a nearby target is great, but I guess they thought it would just suck too much in like, solo situations, or if you're only healing one target and they don't want you to heal yourself. So they're working on it, but as is, yeah, it's a lot stronger. So it's 30 to 40 from 1 to 18, so that's a lot stronger. So your baseline is going to be, or let me see here. Okay, no, it's 35% at all ranks. So that's just straight up 35%. And then Echo Shield is 40% straight up. So that's like the maximum amount. And then if it's the same target, then it's 25%. And if it's shielding the same target, then it's 20 to 30%. No, it's 30%. And you get plus 5 healing and shielding. So that's basically, you're going to get 10 plus healing and shielding most of the time. You've got your ward item, and you've got your second item that you build, your second legendary. So that's going to be plus 10 healing and shielding. And then you've got 35 in a team fight off of heals. That's 45 healing and shielding. And then Janna, whatever she gives, doesn't she give like 20% or something off of her E? That's going to be like 65 on someone like Janna. And then if you get Mikhail's or Redemption or whatever, that's another 15%. It's like 70%. I just feel like it's going to be really hardcore, especially on someone like Soraka, obviously. But even something like Sona, something like Yumi, this is a lot. And especially, this doesn't actually literally count as plus healing and shielding, so it's going to get amplified by plus healing and shielding. So they're going to stack multiplicatively, I believe, and then that's going to stack multiplicatively with like Font of Life. It's going to be a lot of healing. So that might be a little over the top. But, okay. Phantom Dancer, 35%. Static Shivs going up. That's a lot up. But it just, Storm Razor's just outshining it so much. I mean, they're nerfing the hell out of, where is it? Rapid Fire Cannon. It's just 60 at all ranks instead of 60 to 140. My God. Like, no one's going to buy that item anymore, I don't think. I guess they just thought it was too strong with Storm Razor, and they didn't want to like nerf Storm Razor again. Okay. So yeah, I think more people might actually get static. I mean, it's got really good wave clear. I think there's a decent chance that it's just really underestimated. Maybe it's just getting squeezed out. Because you go Storm Razor, Infinity Edge, then after that, what are you getting? You know, you could get static, I guess, but a lot of people just want to rush Storm Razor. It feels like static should almost be a rush. But I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, interesting item. I'm glad they're giving it some love. Ardent Sensor 15 instead of 15 to 30 is a pretty massive nerf. By the time you get this item, most of the time, you're probably in like that 25 range. Maybe not 25, 20 to 25, so you're losing 5 on hit damage. Yeah, I think a lot of people are probably going to move away from that. Maybe with like Ginsu users, or like with Lulu or something, maybe they keep it. Now the attack speed is still the same. This is just the on-hit damage, so maybe that's still good enough. I mean, you're basically losing 5 or 10 on-hit damage. Maybe the extra attack speed's enough. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, obviously this is going to make other stuff like Staff of Flowing Water, Mikhail's Redemption, just other enchanter items look a little bit more appetizing. Okay. Bloodthirster's going up. That's weird because I never see anyone buy this item. I thought that was going to be the OP item of last patch. But it looked like everybody just got Storm Razor instead. I thought it'd be Bloodthirster into Infinity Edge, but I guess somebody was getting it because they're nerfing it. But yeah, it's really strong. They're nerfing the AD on a lot of other items too, so I think that makes this even more appealing. But yeah, people probably just will continue to not get it. Gale Force, this item's too strong, so they're nerfing 5 AD on it, and then they're nerfing the damage on the active. I think that's good. Having a dash on a 90-second cooldown is so incredibly powerful and so frustrating for engaged champions to deal with. You know, so it's basically a flash, right, which is already really strong and has other good stats. So I like their nerfing, especially that execute damage. It's just kind of ridiculous. Like 150 to 350 is enough. Like, what do you want? You've got a flash on an item that's like a 90-second cooldown with that's gonna do like 250 damage. That can't miss. It's like a homing missile, and the stat line on this is already really good. I think it's already around 100% efficient. So it's like, yeah, they they need to nerf something about it. Okay, and then what else? Imperial Mandate early on is doing less damage, or no, it's doing more early, less later. But the movement speed is up. I think that's fair. This is really just kind of hitting champs like Ashe that just reapply this over and over again very easily. But it is giving the movement speed, so I think that's fair. That's a fair trade-off. Overheal is a lot worse on marksman, but better on non-marksman. I think that's fair. It's just the combination of like fleet plus overheal plus bloodthirst, all this stuff, is just making it too difficult to interact with some champions in the laning phase. So that's probably a good thing. Rapid fire, like we said, they're just basically deleting that item. I don't know. I don't feel it was too oppressive. It basically gave you range. You know, good on like Caitlyn or Jhin, but I don't think a ton of champs were getting it. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I already felt it was like questionable in a lot of matchups to pick that over some of your other options, like your Storm Razor, your Lord Doms. There are a lot of other things out there. But, okay. And then red buff is getting some nerfs on the scaling and stuff. That's fine. Okay, so overall, I think really good changes. There were, again, a couple that are kind of head scratchers, but I like the direction. I think most changes are good. They are touching, you know, most of the champs that are really overpowered or like have high win rates in solo queue or pro. Obviously not all of them, but they are touching quite a bit of them. And their buffs, for the most part, are two champions that are pretty bad right now that do have interesting sort of places in the meta whenever they are viable. But anyways, that's going to be it. Thank you very much. Let me know what you think in the comments. Come by, check out the stream around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time most nights, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day.